Why are we called Negroes? Why are we deaf, dumb, and blind? Why is everybody making progress, yet we seem to be lagging so far behind? Why are we mistreated? Why are we in this condition? Stripped of our name, our language, our culture, our God, and our religion. Here in America, all of our religious training has been gotten by the preacher. He has told us of a heaven way up in the sky that we can't enjoy now, but rather after we die.
Here we are once again.
Yay!
What you say, beautiful people?
Assalamu alaikum.
The floor is yours, Sister Felicia.
Well, welcome to the 7th Region Coalition Saving Lives Thursday night. And so we have a treat for us tonight. And the topic is economic independence is always the mission. Why building together is a non-negotiable now. Non-negotiable. And so we are excited to be able to have our guest, Mr. Trevor Otts, and we will definitely tell you a little bit more about him when that time comes. So this is what you want to do. What do they want to do, y'all? What we need them to do?
Come on. It requires no explanation. You want to subscribe, like, share. If this is vitally important to you, the concept and the idea of saving lives, you want to share with whoever you can.
Yes.
Right now, copy and paste the URL. Just put copy and just paste it onto several text messages of people that you care and love, and have them tune in.
Send it out.
We're about
So
the mission, the idea of saving lives, beloved family, whether we recognize this being saving lives or not. Tonight, we're going to be talking about why it is about saving lives.
For such a time as this, the time and what must be done. So let me introduce my lovely cadre of fellow hosts here. We have on this, we have that right
there. Right
on right here. Yeah, no, we're going to you first. We're going to you. We have we have our phenomenal brother, Minister Tony Muhammad out of Miami, who is an excellent educator. And we definitely honor you, Brother Tony, for your dedication in teaching, period, from the young to the old. So we really appreciate you. Thank you so much. And on this side, right down here.
Right that way. Right. You got it right, Sister Felicia.
Yeah, right there.
Right.
We have another powerful student minister, Brother Mark, out of Jacksonville, Florida. Yes. Thank you, Brother Mark, and who is also an entrepreneur in his own right. So we love you. Thank you, Brother Mark, for teaching the young and the old, right? So thank you. And what can I say? We have our illustrious, the dynamic Sister Kalila
That is
Muhammad.
the fire starter.
Yes, yes, yes.
Y'all really like to see me cry, don't y'all? Y'all just
Yes,
like to
we
see me
love
The
cry.
you.
fire
We love
starter.
you. She holds it all together. And I tell you, she is just that, one of those pillars that help to keep the Seventh Region Coalition going. All right. She's been here from the beginning and continues to shine that light even brighter. So thank you, Sister Kalila. We appreciate you
Oh
and love you.
man, I can't do it without you all. Please give
Of
y'all
course.
look. You give yourselves a round of applause. I mean, that
Yeah.
would be like,
Praise be to Allah. Pat myself on the back. All right, so let's get to it. Brother Tony.
Yes, ma'am. Let's be, I'm going to begin properly. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness Muhammad is messenger and servant. Assalamu alaikum, which means peace be unto you. Baragani, Hotep, free the land. What's up? ¿Qué pasa? Buenas noches. Sak pase. Greetings in all the beautiful languages that our people speak. Welcome to your Thursday night talks. And we're saying your Thursday night talks, where we highlight topics, ideas, important concepts that we should be exploring right now in the pursuit of saving lives. We were assembled together by a student regional minister, Student Minister Patrick Mohammed, soon after the Criterion message of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan back in July 2000, really it was July 4th, 2020. And in after that powerful message, we were guiding our people to safety at that time in the midst of so much misinformation during the pandemic. But today, we're still guiding our people to truth, righteousness, and the information that they need to save themselves, their family, their people, the people that they love. We are the Seventh Region Coalition to help save lives. We thank our student regional minister for thinking of us and in putting us together, this awesome cadre of members of the Nation of Islam who are seeking to build coalitions with our people. Today, we're broadcasting these messages through the 9 ministries given to us by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan back in 2005 in the midst of the Millions More movement. And so these are 9 ministries that are all oriented towards saving lives, all oriented towards helping our people find their purpose in life, and now guiding others through these 9 ministries. Tonight, our focus is the Ministry of Trade and Commerce. We have a special guest. He is not a member of the Nation of Islam, but as I said, we're building coalitions. We're into nation building. And so we nation build with those who are members of our immediate community and those who may not be, but we're all still members of the same community because we have the same goal and objective in mind. So the Ministry of Trade and Commerce is the ministry that is responsible for the growth and development of the business and economic interests of the society. The ministry is dynamic in nature, relying on the input of consultants with experience and success in business and economics. It analyzes the economic state of the community and develops programs and policies for growth and stability on the basis of the needs of the community. It translates skills, talents, and interests of the community into viable revenue streams and works with the Ministry of Education to encourage entrepreneurship. So that is the ministry right there. Sister Felicia, I turn it back over to your illustrious hands.
All right. Give thanks. Give thanks. Praise be to Allah. All right. So let me introduce our guests. So take this time to invite all of your friends, all of our entrepreneurs, wealth builders, leaders. All right, because again, you are receiving some information that will propel you forward. Okay. Should you be open to receiving it? All right. So every few decades, a legendary leader comes along and completely disrupts everything we thought we knew about business. And just like that, our lives are changed forever.
Come on.
So we have Napoleon Hill, we got Zig Ziglar, Steve Jobs. Now the world is wondering who's next. Guess who that is? That man is Trevor Otts. He's been called the billion-dollar brand, the profit pioneer, and the automation apostle. He prefers the marketing god. All right. You can take your pick. So as brazen as he is brilliant, Trevor is the automation and marketing master behind some of the most remarkable sales, business, and thought leaders in the world. With a revolutionary formula of cutting edge technology, sales, methodology, and global reach, he has devised campaigns that have generated multiple millions of dollars for his clients. His 2022 roster already reads like the Success 25 or Forbes Top 100. And this year is still young. Okay. If you give him a whiteboard and a pen, Trevor will erect an empire, map you from message to movement, and catapult you into your expansive ocean of opportunity, one overflowing with revenue, impact, and power. You don't come to Trevor for a business plan. You come for a legacy. All right. You come for a legacy. And it's true. Okay. I know some people. Yeah, it's true. Okay. I'm just saying. Trevor's fascination with the flow of money started in the suburbs of Prince George's County, Maryland. A get under the hood kind of kid, he would pick big brands and businesses apart, brick by brick, dissecting them to find the gaps in their greatness, finding the gaps in their greatness and where they were leaving money on the table. You could say his destiny was always tied to the dollar. It's that destiny and his innovate, not imitate mindset that led Trevor to create Black CEO, a state of the art school and business development consultancy for Black emerging thought leaders, coaches, and speakers. Trevor launched the game changing company in 2017 with 3 clients, a tiny shared space with 2 MacBooks. Today, they sit at the helm of a technology empire valued at $250 million and serve entrepreneurs from Baltimore to Bangladesh. All right, talking about being universal. His hyper immersion model, a revolutionary take on the traditional live empowerment conference, provides a platform for speakers to blast their message worldwide and instantly increase visibility from an average of 600 to 60,000 attendees with a few indigenous keystrokes. Trevor's explosive trainings and power talks are broadcast weekly to 1.5 million viewers across the globe. Trevor is the next master. Trevor is the master of the next. He recently introduced his groundbreaking evergreen revenue model. Evergreen revenue model. That means that's mailbox money. You only have to do it once. I just want y'all to be clear. All right. To the market, teaching businesses, leaders, how to join the ranks of renowned brands like Netflix and Apple with universal impact and wealth. The concept is positioned to take the business and technology world by storm and will undoubtedly be taught in industry texts and classrooms for centuries to come. To do what Trevor does in a way that he does it takes more than know-how. It takes grit and guts. It takes willingness to forge in the fire. And we know somebody, we know about that, right?
Oh,
It
of
takes
course.
the heart to be first. So what else is left for this man to do, you ask? Just watch. Let's bring to the stage Trevor Otts.
There's our brother right there.
All righty. I
The
am
great and mighty.
all right. Flattery will get you everything.
It's indeed an honor, my brother.
In all honesty, it is really my honor to be here, to really serve and to be a part of this mission, this greater mission of doing for self, taking care of self, for really economic independence. So thank you from my heart for allowing me to be here today.
Yes. Okay.
Well,
All
Trevor,
right.
I'm a fan already. So, I mean, from, but the thing is, we're going to get into the fear factor of success in just a minute. But I definitely want to just start off with this particular question to you.
Mhm.
And this is just a very general question. What inspired you to start Black CEO?
Well, there's a funny backstory to Black CEO, and I'll try to keep it short, but I'm not known for my shortness, right? But interesting enough, people call me an entrepreneur all the time, and really, I consider myself to be really an air mattresspreneur. You might be saying,
Hmm.
what the heck is an air mattresspreneur?
Okay.
I remember my first business. I got it to amazing heights. I owned this real estate company called Haven Realty Centers.
Mhm.
And the thing about it is, one day it just all came crashing down when the market crashed. And interestingly enough, I had employees and people that were depending on me, and I remember literally going home and the lights were out. So I would have to make sure that I got home at a reasonable time so I could do all the things I needed to do before there was no light. I remember that in the mornings I would get up and like, there's no power, the lights are out. So I would be the first person off. They'd be like, "Man, that Trevor Oz, he sure worked hard. He's in here at 5 o'clock in the morning." Little did they know that maybe I worked hard, or maybe there were no lights at home. You get it? And so, as you know, when the power was cut off, usually that electricity is heating the water. So, I grew up cut my entrepreneurial chops with cold water and dark nights, right? And all of this really was along the way of trying to find a light, right?
Mm.
And interesting enough, I went through that business with under, and I remember one day I got home and just all of my stuff. I mean, everything that I owned was literally sitting outside. I got evicted. Now I knew I was gonna
Wow.
get evicted, but I still kind of ignored it. I had the yellow slip, the pink slip, and all of these different types of slips that they put on your doors. It's almost like playing Uno, right? It was like draw four. Anyway, one day they eventually came, and I remember that day because all my stuff was sitting outside in front of my house. And interestingly enough, people had picked through all my stuff. TV was gone, everything was gone, and I had this trash bag full of stuff, my last bit of clothes. And
Mhm.
interesting enough, true story, I was running for office at the same time. So I needed a suit to go speak at this event, and all of my stuff was mostly wet, wrinkled. So I said, I'm gonna get a suit out of this bag, and I got a suit out of this bag. And the shirt was wrinkled, and the suit was a little bit wrinkled. So I said, let me figure out what I'm gonna do. I can't put this suit jacket on; it's too wrinkled. So I said, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take this shirt that I got, this white dress shirt, and I'm gonna roll the sleeves up so people can't really see the wrinkledness of the things, like because entrepreneurship will force you to be resourceful, and this is the ways why I tell you
Mm.
this, right? Because in the midst of all your troubles, you got to find that resourcefulness, right? Because God is
Right.
clearly giving you enough to accomplish everything you need, right? And it's there if you just look for it, even in the midst of like the greatest trials. So anyway, I give this speech. I got my sleeves rolled up. I got the idea from Barack Obama because I saw him rolling his sleeves up on the trail. I was like, yeah, I'm a working man's politician, right? And so anyway, fast forward. About a couple of months later, I finally get like another little apartment. But I really still didn't have my money together, right? My finances were still in disarray. And I'm trying to be an entrepreneur. And when you're trying to be, a lot of times that's when you face your greatest struggles. So
Mm.
anyway, I went to Walmart and got myself an air mattress, right? And if you know anything about air mattresses are not made for sleeping on for a year and 6 months. They're made for short-term stuff. It's for short term. But no, not me. I got it. I'm using it long term. Eventually, that air mattress springs a little pinhole leak. I don't know how it got a leak, but all air mattresses, after a certain period of time, you will get a leak. And so what happened was, eventually I would pump that thing up at around about 9 o'clock at night when I was getting ready to go to bed, and By the time I got up in the morning, I would be on the floor because all of the air came out of the air mattress. So the first time this happened, I plugged it back up, pumped it back in, it had a little electric motor, and like, and I'm like, get some more sleep. Then the next time it happened, each time this happened, the air came out of the mattress faster and faster and faster. So sometimes the first time it would last about 8 hours, then I'd be on the floor. The next time it would last, a couple of more weeks, it would last like 6 hours, and I'd be on the floor. And eventually I said, well, maybe God's trying to tell me something. And he was. And the first rule, and it's the first rule about entrepreneur, when you find yourself on the floor, get up. Right? That is not the time to get comfortable with your current surroundings, because on the floor is never where you were called to be. And so when people call me an entrepreneur, I'm like, no, I'm not an entrepreneur. Trevor Ox, what they call the brand guy, all that kind of stuff. This guy is an air mattress-preneur. I cut my chops right on an air mattress. And what happened was, interestingly enough, what started happening is I would always end up on the floor around about 4 a.m. in the morning. Actually, to be exact, I would be on the floor at 3:38 a.m. in the morning, which was close to 4 a.m. in the morning. So you know what time I get up to this day? 3:38 a.m. in the morning. And literally, I don't care where I'm at in the world. And I'm literally up doing my quiet time, doing my meditations, and working on my business. And so, you got to be willing. You got to do things that other people won't do. And so that brings me to now, I've now launched this new business called the Peak Performance Institute. And all of a sudden, after a couple of years, me and my good friend, Che Brown, we get invited to the Marketers of the Year conference. Obviously, things were going better. It was in Arizona, and we were pepper in a sea of salt. There were no other Black people in the room. Now, in Arizona, we pepper in a sea of salt. Now, prior to us getting there, there was a snowstorm that hit D.C. So we were supposed to get there a day earlier, but we had to go all the way to BWI and we had to get a flight and find a second flight, and we get there probably maybe like 9:30, 10 o'clock, right? Good thing is we were flying from D.C., so in Arizona time, we were still pretty, on time. So when we got there, they had just started, and there were no more seats. So the only seats that we could sit in was at the back of the room. I'm getting a little bit of Rosa Parks vibes here, right? And so I'm at the back of the room now because she fought us to sit at the front. I really wanted to be at the front, but I got there late, so I had to sit at the back. By the way, when in doubt, always sit in the front in the room. Let your Black face be seen. All right. So anyway, they say, listen, we want everybody to introduce yourself. Tell us what you do. Tell us how you save the world. These are all the best marketers from all around the world. And everybody got up and said, oh, my name is Johnny this, and I help people make more money with less effort. The next person got up and said, my name is such and such, and guess what I do? I help people make more money with less effort. The next person got up and said, what do you do? My name is Charlie. I'm from Wisconsin. I help people make more money with less effort. And I realized that everybody was saying literally the same thing. And it's about 100, 150 of us in this room. So by the time they finally get to us, I had already said to myself, I don't care what comes out of my mouth, but I know that I'm not going to say I help make people make more money for less effort. Anyway, my business partner was sitting next to me, Jay Brown. He said, they get to him first because he's sitting here and I'm sitting here. They say, Shay, what do you do? He says, my name is Che Brown from the Peak Performance Institute, and I help people make more money. And I said in that moment, and when they got to me, I said, my name is Trevor Ox. We run the Peak Performance Institute, and we work with Black entrepreneurs around the world. And the reason why we work with Black entrepreneurs around the world is we want to give them a strategic advantage in the marketplace because we know that oftentimes that represents an underserved community. Yes, right. And we wanted to do our part to give back. And it was some iteration of that. But all I know, what I said out of my mouth, is we work with Black. It's the first time we ever said it. And we pepper in a sea of salt. I was the very last person to speak. Afterwards, because we had been in there 2 hours, everybody introduced themselves. You give 150 people a mic, Rule number 2, never do this. Never give 150 people a mic. You ever had that for free? So anyway, long and the short of it, they go on break right afterwards because everybody's tired now and they need a break. They need to stretch their legs. When they went on break, I had a line from literally here all the way to the back of the room of people who wanted to talk to us, who wanted to know about how to get connected to the Black community and things like that. Now, I'll be honest with you. Prior to that, all we did was sell our soul. Can we fit in? Can we even said to ourselves, oh, we can't say Black people because the white people might do no business with them. They were not doing business with us anyway, right? So we were protecting us. We were protecting people who were not doing business with us. We were out there trying to protect them in case they wanted to do business with us. It seems kind of ridiculous. Hey, I need to make sure that these people that never do business with us, try to do business with us, I need to protect. And it started making all my friends nervous. When I flipped over and started saying Black entrepreneur, they all started getting nervous. That's why I love the nation, because these are the only ones that weren't nervous. They were not. Everybody else was nervous. So anyway, we get back home, and a couple of weeks later, I had purchased this domain called Black CEO. Most people didn't know I had purchased it 4 years before I ever used it, because I was nervous about it. Because I was like, what if the white people start doing business with me? They had never done business with me. It's like that movie, The Sixth Sense. I see ghosts, right? I was seeing ghosts and he's not there. So anyway, I call up some of my good friends. I was like, listen, I'm about to launch this brand. It's going to be called Black CEO, blah, 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 blah. They was like, hey, man, I don't know about that. I got, just in case, I want to make sure that people know that my brand is for everybody. First, next rule, your brand, your product, your service, your mission, it ain't for everybody, it's for somebody. Pick a side. That's first rule of entrepreneurship. People won't fool with you when you won't fool with them. It's simple logic. So anyway, I called my friend. I'm calling some of the famous, biggest names that you know in the industry. I will not call them out by name, but I assure you, they're some of the biggest Black names in personal and professional development. They were friends of mine. I called them up and said, I'm on this brand called Black CEO. I'm going to have an event, blah, 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 blah. What's the product? Whoa, I don't know about that. They're trying to make sure they were doing the same thing that I was. And my friend Shay Brown was here. And I come out of the kitchen. I'm literally frustrated and angry. And I wrote this line. I said, as a Black entrepreneur, I am unapologetic about the unique distinction, the cultural distinction that I represent in the marketplace. I am a hashtag Black CEO. When I posted that, I need you to understand what just happened. Everybody thought that Hillary Clinton was going to win the election. She didn't. So this comes out at this moment. Like, as a Black CEO, I'm unapologetic about the cultural distinction that I represent in the marketplace. Hashtag I'm a Black CEO. Then I put my face on there, and then I posted it out. It got over 200,000 hits in less than 45 minutes. And then I said, I'm an entrepreneur, so I pivoted. I said, if you want an image like that, I'll take my face off there, and I'll put your face on there, and you can get your own image. I didn't know how many people was going to order it. I thought 25, 35, maybe 100. Try 400,000. I gotta go hire people, graphic artists. We up 24 hours a day trying to make these images, and people post these images all around. All of a sudden, we have a 400,000 person group, literally. And we're like, okay, what do we do next? Well, what does any good entrepreneur do? We're having a conference. 6 weeks later, we were having a conference. Interesting enough, all of those friends that got nervous said, hey, by the way, I can speak. You need a person to speak to you. Right? And that's the God-honest truth about how Black CEO got started. Right? Wow. And interesting enough, during that time, it made a lot of people nervous to say that you were pro-Black, right? That you were pro your people. And interestingly enough, right, as you guys are interviewing me now, we're entering back in that time where they're saying, you don't say pro-Black. That's what Target said, don't talk about You do business with black people, they start to get nervous again, right?
Mhm.
And I think about when they talk about DEI, right? And I know it stands for diversity and inclusion or something like that, but I changed
Equity
it
and
to,
inclusion. Yes, sir.
yeah, equity. Yeah, I changed it to disrupt, engage, and then inform. Right?
Mm.
Disrupt, engage directly with them, head on, and inform them about who we are and who we be as black people. But that is Black CEO. That's how we got started. Black CEO represented this journey where not only did I have to learn to appreciate who we be as a people,
Mm.
but also understanding that everything that we need, we have within us.
Mhm.
And so in going down that route, it was not just a business journey, but it was also this spiritual journey to really learn how to unapologetically, right, stand in your belief systems. And so,
Mhm.
that's how Black CEO got started. From this guy that was, building his business on the floor of his air mattress from Walmart. I always think that Walmart was my silent business partner because that air mattress came from them. And really learning how to pick yourself up, learning how to get back up, learning how to find opportunities when it looks like they're done, but also this journey to really standing with your people, believing in your people, believing in your, and then all of a sudden you start realizing that the grass is definitely not greener on the other side. Matter of fact, it's not green at all.
Mm.
Right? You start looking at, you know what? I'm sure glad you're on this side of it because you start learning about your true ability. And it's funny because I think about um, entrepreneurship, and I think it's a word that we use a little too much, and
Mm.
it really minimizes who we are as a people. Because entrepreneurship is really one thing that we participate in, but really the source of entrepreneurship is invention. And that one of the things that they forget to talk about when they start teaching black people about entrepreneurship, they forget to teach them that you are an inventor. There are things that you do. You invent things that the world never even knew they needed. When you look at George Washington Carver, this guy was both an inventor and an innovator. To invent is to create something that did not exist. To innovate is to improve upon something that already existed. To see a new possibility and things that already exist. And if you take people of color, we're always seeing new possibilities that they ain't seen, right? And when we're thinking about entrepreneurship, it's not what can I say, it's what will I invent that'll change the world. And
Mm.
so it's not just it's kind of like, hey, you got to do business and you got to find something to sell. No, you need to invent something that's going to change the world, right?
Mm.
Something new. And sometimes when we just focus strictly on entrepreneurship, it's like we're stripping away from we're stripping away from our lineage, that genealogy of we doctors, we're doing brain surgery before people even ever thinking about it.
That's right.
They're like, hey, he discovered brain surgery. The
Right.
Egyptians were doing it thousands of years earlier. And
Yes, sir.
so this inventive nature. And so when I come into spaces like this, I like to challenge listeners to say, don't just find something to sell. That's great. If you find something to sell, that's great. But too many of us are shutting down that inventive spirit that exists in us. What will you
Mm.
invent that will transform and that will change the world? And then there's a marriage between there's this person who invented these items, these things, right? And then there are these entrepreneurs who created a way to sell it, right? And that's the
Mhm.
marriage. And I think that sometimes what starts to happen is we spend so much time looking to what we're going to sell and how we're going to sell it that there's a disconnect between inspiring that next generation of inventors because we've been inventing since the beginning of time. So
Time.
that's a
Yeah.
little bit
Right.
about Black CEO.
Yeah.
Hope that answers your question, Sister Kalia.
Yes, you did, and I'm glad the way that you finished the question because I am also a CEO of my company, and it's a boutique, and I've been really uncomfortable with the thought of selling something to make someone rich
Mhm.
and calling myself a CEO of my company. And so it's one of those things where I did step out and create something, and I promise you, the endorphins in my brain just exploded when I created just one piece of item that I can say, hey, this is my own creation. This
Right.
came from my boutique. This is, you'll never see this again because I'm not going to create it again. This is yours for this small price of, but it just made, and then everybody was like, I want it, I want it, I want it, because everyone wants to be unique. Everyone do not want to be like everybody else, even though they say they do. They do not. But I totally agree with you in regards to the uniqueness of the brand, making yourself um indispensable, just making yourself to the point where nobody cannot replace you, and that's creating things from your brain and in your own hands. So I appreciate that answer. Thank you so much, Trevor.
Thank you so much.
Brother Trevor, you mentioned George Washington Carver. I love I'm an educator by profession. I love teaching my students. I call them my children. I love teaching them about George Washington Carver because he was very much sought after, not just by Black America, but primarily white America, and he refused to go and work for them, for all these corporations that wanted him to work for them. He helped them, both Black farmers and white farmers, improve in their farming techniques. But his primary thing was to help guide a new generation of young people, Black people in particular. His primary focus was young Black youth at Tuskegee University. He wanted to pave the way for them. And one thing that he taught was about collective economics, which is vitally important. The principle of doing for self. But doing for self, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that it is vitally important. Doing for self, however, does not mean that we should do it all by ourselves.
Right.
Can you expound a bit on the importance of the power of brothers and sisters who have a common vision to come together and work towards that vision in a unified way?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to steal a line from one of my mentors, Dr. George C. Frazier.
Yes,
he wrote the book, Success Runs in Our Race. Here's what he said, and I remember when he taught it to me. He said, Trevor, when we cooperate, 1 + 1 = 2. But when we collaborate, 1 and 1 = 11, right? #11, right? And so we kind of took that, we kind of modernized it. We started this whole thing called #11, #11, right?
Come on, brother.
And so, literally talks about the difference between cooperate versus collaborating. And I think of it in this way, right? When a lot of times, what I think happens is that people will pay you more you will generate more revenue and you'll generate more results when you are doing things collaboratively. Let me use as an example. There's a belief in Black CEO, and it says this, that if you think more than you do, you'll get more done, right? And so, because people are like, it's interesting because the number one problem facing today's Black entrepreneur is an addiction to our labor as the primary mechanism by which we generate revenue. Right, and I'm going to say that again because I think it's vitally important. The number one problem facing today's Black entrepreneur is an addiction to our labor as the primary mechanism by which we generate revenue. And the significance of that is because they brought us to this country and built the country on the back of our labor. And then what they told us is that the thing that's most valuable about us as a people is our labor.
Come on, brother.
And anything that is related to what we think, they steal it and then sell it back to us. It's like, oh, that's not what you thought it was. That's what that
repackaged, remix.
Yeah, the remix, the white person remix, right? And the white person remix, you got to be careful about the white person remix, because the white person remix, they'll get you. Right? As a matter of fact, I'm working on a book right now called The Hypocrisy of Whiteness. Right? And it's all about that white person remix and what they do with our intelligence and what they do with our IP, our intellectual property. But again, I'm saying it again, the number one problem facing today's Black entrepreneurs in addiction to our labor is the primary mechanism by which we generate revenue. And that is not to say that working hard does not matter, but we really work hard in so much as to perfect our knowledge. And then once our knowledge has been perfected, it's incumbent upon all of us to monetize that which we know, because there's more money in what you know than what you do, right? And I'm coming back to your question, Tony, which is now we go back, because I heard you say when we do. And a lot of times when Black people hear do, we start thinking labor, right?
That's true. That's true.
And I want you to start hearing the word that I think about it, because if you think more than you do, you'll get more done. Why? Because wherever you are in life, your mind got there first. Period. Wherever you are in life, your mind got there first. And so if you think more than you do, you'll get more done. But if we think, this is what I was coming at, if we think more than we do, we'll change the world. Right? And that's the whole point about collaboration. When we start to collectively think. So when we start to have these masterminds, like when I said I was happy today, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm counting me in. What is this, a mastermind? She sent me something like, this club exists, count me in. Because it represents this collaborative thinking. And I know that when we think as a people more than we do, we can literally change the world. And so, like I said before, I love the power of collaboration. And interesting, I do a lot now with AI. I do a lot now in coding, because my original degree is really in computer science. And interestingly enough, the first thing I had to teach these new coders, these new African-American and Black coders all around the world is never code by yourself. That is, like, you got really smart and all that. Like, code by yourself. Like the first one we got to teach me. You're talking about people that's like, I'm already really smart, Trevor. I already got an A. My teacher said I'm smart. Never code by yourself. Now, starting up a day, they don't ever listen until those mistakes start piling up. And I said, two sets of eyes is still always better than one, right? One is, one might be coding, the other might be testing, and you'd be surprised just if a person does something by themselves and they write the whole code, we might spend 3 to 4 weeks having to debug that code. When they code in pairs, we might spend 2 to 3 hours cleaning it up. And so you make a mess when you do stuff by yourself. You make a mess. One, because you don't have anybody to really challenge that ego that we all have. Push it. Ask those key questions that may cause your mind to expand in different areas. And so to that end, collaboration is not just for what we all get out of it, but collaboration inherently makes everybody a part of that collaboration better. And that's actually what they mean by iron sharpens iron. Right? Iron sharpens iron is a collaboration principle. Right? We heard it all the time, but we don't really use it. Now, I do have a slight little change on that one, right? And I'll say this, is that when you are in collaboration, you got to make sure that we all come to the party with equal effort. And what I mean by that is, I'll say it simple. You will not waste my $1 million mind on $5 effort. So everybody come on. $1 million effort. So they come to the party, we come to collaborate. We collaborate with entrepreneurs. We collaborate with economic independence. We all got to bring $1 million effort. $1 million effort. But do not let people waste your $1 million mind on $5 effort. Right? And so literally you got to ask, is this $1 million effort? Now, that's at the low level. You starting out great. But you start collaborating, y'all all got business. Hey, $1 billion effort. What this $1 billion effort looks like. What does it look like? Because what we know is that powerful people, and we are powerful people, ask powerful questions. Why? because questions steer focus. And in your life and in your business, you're only going to get what you focus on, right? And so asking yourself these questions literally drives the focus of your mind, because your mind, literally the purpose of your subconscious mind is really designed to answer the questions that your conscious mind puts to. So if we ask a better question, we're going to get more out of it. Because wherever you are in life, your mind got there first. And if your mind ain't there, you ain't going either, right? And so these, but where did all these things come from? Am I independently brilliant? There's no such thing, there's no such person that is independently brilliant. There's no such thing as independent brilliance. It doesn't really exist. All of that comes from talking to the Dr. George C. Phrases, even being in mentorship with the Les Browns, talking to the Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, right? Talking to the Sister Felicia Muhammad, right? There's nobody that's independently brilliant. There's no such thing as independently brilliant. Right. And so there's collective brilliance, there's collaborative brilliance, and then there's people who take credit for the brilliance of others, right? It's like, you know, you got Elon Musk, you're like, he's the most brilliant person on the planet. Not really. He is head of an organization that stole a bunch of other people's ideas, right? So, you know, to that end, it's all about collaboration, and to really effectively collaborate, you really do have to move ego out of the way. And you have to be submitted to the mission. You got to be submitted. Your faith, your mission, these things, and working with unprincipled people. Yeah, that's a fast way to fail.
Yeah, unprincipled people. Yeah. Wow. Thank you for that, Trevor.
That's the reason why I like the nation. Because if you're doing business with them, you're doing business with principle. Honestly, I've never had a bad business run-in with a person from the nation. I've been in business for a long time. Not one. Right? And I'm not to say it's not possible, but I can tell you, and I've done business with hundreds of thousands of African Americans. I can tell you not one. So yeah, the principle. Over to you guys.
Okay, all right.
Beautiful
Thank you. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. Unity, power, and numbers. Yes.
Sometimes as a Felicia, I mean, it causes, we can't look at it just being simply conflict, friction. Now, is there a way that we could do this better?
Yeah.
We got it forced, the different minds force us to now step up our game.
That deliberative dialogue.
That deliberative dialogue.
Right, but sometimes, like, I don't like the way this person said this to me, you know, like, but now, are you going to stay there, or are you going to step your game up?
Yeah, that's right. And like Trevor was saying, you know, with the ego, that's what you're speaking to,
right?
And being able to, we come into the table with $1 million. We come in with equal energy, you know, because that levels the playing field.
And you know what I like? Million man marching, $1 million.
That's right.
Yeah. So okay, we'll be talking about that all night. All right, because that's really critical though in the empire building and the legacy part of it, and knowing how to just navigate through the stuff that comes up, you know, from the personalities, from the egos, and being able to know how to rise above emotions into the thinking of God, right? Okay. So next question. So Black CEO has evolved into a podcast on Podbean. Each podcast is described as a masterclass in entrepreneurship, delivering unapologetic, no holds barred insights and advice from those who have walked the path from solopreneur to Black CEO. And that's a quote. So since you have launched this podcast, can you share any success stories that have resulted from the lives that you have touched?
Yeah, lots of them. Matter of fact, I'm going to also give you a formula behind it. Remember I told you about that entrepreneurship is not just about finding something and selling it. It's about inventing something that can change the world. So when you invent something, you are creating something that just didn't exist. When you are innovating, you are seeing new possibilities within something that already exists. So we talk about Carver and the peanut, right? he saw new possibilities in something that already existed.
That's right.
So when we started doing the podcast, it was just kind of, we had a podcast, people tuned in. So then we decided to innovate. We started to see a new possibility within something that already existed, which was called a podcast infrastructure. And what we did in that moment was we said, well, what if we invented an interview style podcast system, and we created an AI. And this AI would literally interview Tony, interview Sister Felicia, interview Kalia. It would interview you. And then it would go out and research everything there is to know about you. Then it would go out and research everything that reinforced whatever your points were in the interview. So we would do the research, right, that backed your point of view, so that it wouldn't just be on lip service, right? Now, the reason why we did this is because, one, found that it was hard for people to talk about themselves, so we had to do some research. So it was like, just use the AI to do the research. Got it. Then it was like, okay, tell us about the facts and figures. They knew what they believed, but they didn't necessarily have the research to back their point of view. So we had to make sure, because when they come, when the people come for you, they try to come for you. But like, okay, you might come for them, but here's the research right here.
Right.
So then we said, okay, now we're going to take AI. Now we know who they are. We know what their point of view is. We know what the facts and figures are to back their point of view. And now let's have an AI that is going to create a speech, so to speak, a script, right? And it literally is writing down. I'm the owner of the podcast. Today is my name is Trevor Odds, and I got a chance to interview Tony Muhammad. And today I'm going to be sharing with you all the things that I learned from him, right? And so this is me literally speaking about what I learned from my interview. Now, when I say me speaking, I don't actually mean me. I mean the AI wrote the script, and then the AI changed that, spoke that script in my voice. So we created an AI to mimic the voice. So to mimic Tony's voice, to mimic Felicia's, to mimic the voice of me speaking about what I learned from these people. So we created a voice emulator, right? And then from there, right, now we said, okay, now we got a script. I got an audio track. I got research. I got everything I need. We put it together. We made it into a podcast, and then we posted it. And all of a sudden, it was like, yay! we created something, but it wasn't impact. It didn't create impact. So then I'm a marketer, and I said, well, who can we interview? And naturally, the thing about podcasts, the dangerous thing about podcasts is a lot of times the podcast operates a lot of times as a reflection of your ego. Right? And because I was a speaker and a coach and an author, in those spaces, all they tell you is one thing: get seen, get heard, get paid. Get seen, get heard, get paid. You become a new speaker, you go to Toastmasters, you go to all of the different places, they're going to tell you three things: get seen, get heard, get paid.
Right.
So I'm going to be honest with you. God challenged me. Straight up, 3:30 in the morning, 3:38, challenge. Get seen, get heard, get paid. Get seen, get heard, get paid. Get seen, get heard, get paid. I started realizing is that it was very narcissistic behavior. And so if I'm a speaker and I've been taught get seen, get heard, get paid, and all of a sudden I get seen, I get heard, and I get paid, what happened is the world just rewarded me for narcissistic behavior. Right? So now I'm going to do more of that. That's why your favorite speaker seemed like he was down to earth. And then when he got bigger, it was like, I don't like being around that person. Because all along the way, we created an environment where we were rewarding narcissistic behavior. And I said, well, it's not about getting seen, get heard, and getting paid. Who's it about? Who do you think it's about? The people. Those are the people that you were called to serve. So I realized that we had to flip this interview system on its head. And we decided, we said, well, I'm Black CEO. We the company Black CEO. We're going to start interviewing. Guess who we're going to start interviewing? Black entrepreneurs. You want to know why? Because I got products and services that I sell to who? Black entrepreneurs.
Right.
So what we had to realize, we had to strip away the model of get seen, get heard, get paid. And we put in a new model. We want the client to feel seen, the client to feel heard, the client to feel understood, and the client to feel acknowledged. Seen, heard, understood, and acknowledged. Not seen, heard, get paid. Over here, did you help your client get seen? Does your client feel heard? Does your client feel understood? Do they feel acknowledged? Once that happens, the likelihood of them doing business with you is 10 times greater. So we tested it. We said, okay, we're going to give the newest person that ain't got no clients in Black CEO, we're going to give them this system, the AI podcast interview system that we created. And all this system does is they run in Facebook ads, and all the ad says, hey, I want to interview you for the Black CEO podcast. We're looking to interview Black entrepreneurs. If you were, let's just say you were a dressmaker and you said, hey, I want to interview Black women of style, right? And I want to interview you about your style. Why? Because you sell dresses to Black women. But all you're doing is saying, I'm going to interview my clients. And I'm literally running a $10 a day Facebook ad. And the ad just says, I want to interview. Who do you want to interview? The person you want to interview was always the person that your brand was called to serve. That's why I say your brand is not for everybody, it's for somebody. Your message is not for everybody, it's for somebody. And so what you wanted to do is you wanted to give people their 15 minutes of fame. So we ran the ad. It was our most successful ads ever in life. And so what we started realizing is that people were getting literally 100 new leads in their ecosystem every week. 100 new leads every week. 400 leads a month off $10 a day. So we looked at the results and said, this cannot actually be right. And let me tell you the significance of it. On average, if you run an ad on Facebook, that thing is going to cost you, on average, about $1.80 a click and anywhere between $4 to $20 a lead. We were getting 15-cent clicks and $1 leads, right? As soon as it started happening, I lied to you not, white people started calling us and asking, do we want to sell the system? Hey,
wow.
I did a carver on them. Not interested. Right? I ain't know what they're talking about. It don't really work good. You know, I claim pure ignorance. Anyway, long as you won't do the white remix on Trevor. You're gonna do a lot of things, but you're not gonna do that on Trevor. So anyway, now we started realizing, we said, oh man, okay. So we started giving it to other people that were in Black CEO. And all of a sudden, all of them started generating leads. And we realized something. This is why you gotta have collaboration, because this wasn't me by myself. You know what I'm saying? I said Black CEO created. There was Spalding, there was Vitality, Trevor, there's all these people that helped create this process. Darren, right? 2 different Darrens, and this collaboration. And all of a sudden, this massive breakthrough, this massive marketing breakthrough, where we realize sometimes something so simple. This is what your mama used to tell you, like, you can be so smart that you're dumb. We were so smart that we were dumb and we missed it. That the number one thing that we had to do in the marketplace was give our clients a voice. And we started realizing that the reason why a lot of marketing is failing is that they telling the client, you need this and you want this. And it's very, but as opposed to give them a microphone. Let them share their piece, right? Give them, acknowledge them. And so now this system, I was looking at it the other day, I think it's now created something like 14,000 podcasts. So 14,000 Black people in less than 90 days have literally created content that they're sharing with the world, right? And obviously we're giving it a much more positive spin when we're sharing it. But what's really interesting about it is I think about like the libraries of Alexandria, which they got burned because a fire mysteriously jumped off the boat over water and burned the libraries. Oh, okay. That's the narrative y'all want to tell me. Okay. So literally, it's also, we call it the New Alexandria product or project, where we are literally starting to rebuild that library of Black knowledge so that it can be accessed anywhere around the world. But then that wasn't all. All of a sudden, we had all these people sharing content. Everybody was generating leads. I can give any one of you that system right now, within 4 to 6 hours, you would probably start having new qualified leads that are people that you were called to work with in your system, just by giving them a voice. But then we started looking at Facebook. Remember I told you about that innovation factor? If you're listening, write it down. Innovation factor. What is your innovation factor? We started looking at Facebook, and we looked at Facebook in a very different way. And I said, what does Facebook do? Facebook takes everything that they learn about you. Every time you click the like button, every time you hit the love button, every time you comment, every time you share, they take everything that they learn about you. They take everything that they learn about you, and then they put it back in front of you.
Right.
As
there
an
you
offer.
go.
They take everything that they learn about you, pull it out, jazz it up, and put it back in front of you as an offer. And we call that a Facebook ad.
Right.
And understand that if Facebook does not have ads, they're out of business. The whole business model is literally based upon running ads. Google is this way, Facebook is this way, TikTok is this way. This is how they pay. They don't really have a product or service. Their product or service is what they know about you. So I said, okay, these people are sharing with us what they believe. What if we take that information and put it back in front of them as an offer related to the products and services that my people sell? I ain't got to create Facebook, because the mistake that people make, I got to create the next Facebook. I'm going to create my own Facebook. If two of us are needed, one of us ain't. If two of us are the same, one of us ain't needed. The answer is not create the next Facebook. The answer was look at what Facebook, what they did to actually be successful. All they did was take information that they know about you, turn it back and put it back in front of you as an offer. So my brother drives trucks. He owns a truck. He drives trucks all around the country, right? When you go down his Facebook feed, all you're going to see is different ads related to trucks. Hey, drive for us. We're going to pay you more money. I have never seen these ads on my feed because I'm not a truck driver.
Right.
And most people are not paying attention to what Facebook knows about you. You go to your Facebook feed, every 4 ads, you will see something say sponsor. Those ads they show you are related to what they know about you. Now, that's nice, interesting to know, but if you can't use that information, what difference does it make? So all of a sudden, we said we collected all these information, because when we interviewed them, by the way, the interview was just a 3-question questionnaire. That's it. From there, the AI takes it. What's really interesting is we created the next product, which was called Ultimate Sales AI, which was an AI salesperson to sell your product based upon what he knew about you. So if I knew that you were really big on research, or I knew that you were really big on confidence, right? Now my AI is positioning the product back in front of you and saying, hey, this product will really resonate with you because it's going to help you with your confidence. And that's why you want to come to this conference. So it's literally, I say all that to say because I got a little technical in the weeds, but there's a power to innovate when you are collaborating. You can see new possibilities, right? And I'm going to give everybody here, I'm going to give you a formula, and I hope you use this formula in your entrepreneurship, because I had this, the thing I like about the Almighty, the thing I like about Allah, the thing I like about God is the simplicity at which his wisdom gets revealed to you, right? So I'm gonna give you the simplest formula that I was ever given, and I'm gonna share it with you. And it's very simple. M plus M plus M equals M. M plus M plus M equals M. And I say that because all success has a formula, right? And in order for us to achieve economic independence, which is always the mission, right, we got to have a true formula for success. So as we collaboratively pursue economic independence in our community, as we are learning to do for self, right, we're going to use this formula, M plus M plus M equals M. And that's to say that a movement plus a message plus a methodology equals manifestation. Movement plus message plus methodology equals manifestation. Now, what is the movement? We're going to break this thing down. The movement is the concept or the idea that people rally together around. That's all it is. It's this concept or idea that people rally together around, right? And see, when we talk about the movement, people got to know what you're fighting for. They got to know what you're fighting against if you want them to fight with you, right? And so a lot of times we create these businesses and these brands, but they don't have a movement. Like when T-Mobile first launched, they were like in 12th place. They were not even on the map as far as cell phones. Cellular One was ahead of them. Motorola was ahead of them. They were like bottom of the barrel. This guy Tim Laguerre comes in and he says, "I'm gonna create something called the no bills movement. I forgot what it's called, but it's called the no something movement, right? And essentially, his movement is the reason why we now have unlimited text messages, unlimited minutes on our phone, right? And he created this movement, and he made it his business. Every Tuesday, this dude did something to disrupt the market, right? And so, literally, that's how that T-Mobile now is really moving into the second spot in between AT&T and Verizon, right? Because it was a movement, right? If you live in the United States, right, your freedom is tied to a black woman who kicked off a movement named, where we really got to think about. See, you think about the Montgomery bus boycott,
Yes,
right? And who do you think who comes to mind when you think about the Montgomery bus boycott? Who was the trigger?
Parks.
Rosa Parks, right? And so that one moment, right, triggered the movement because the organization already existed. The Student Nonviolent Coalition, they already existed, but they didn't really have any traction. So you can have a brand, you can have an idea, and you can have a concept, but without movement, that brand becomes stale. The business becomes stale. So all of a sudden, they decide that, we got to give up the seat. Cool. They kick off the Montgomery bus boycott, and then this kicks off the movement that ends up in the March on Washington, where the most famous speech ever was given, which is "I have a dream," right? But that is all that started with some movement. Even in circles like, let's say Donald Trump, he started his own movement. He called it MAGA, Make America Great Again, right? But that was his movement, right? And it drove him into the White House, literally twice. So to that end, every brand, every business has to have a movement, this concept or this idea that people rally together around. Now, here's the thing. Every movement must have a moment, and those moments must be disruptive. And it's a disruptive moments within your movement that give it momentum. Every movement must have a moment. Those moments must be disruptive. And it's a disruptive moment within your movement that give it momentum. That's why I love the Million Man March, because I remember I was a kid in college, right? And I remember the movement, right? And it was very disruptive, right? It was highly disruptive, but every movement, right? So every brand has to have a movement, but every movement must have a moment. And when we say moment, a moment is a dispensation of time of heightened relevancy. All right. Now let's get past the big word. We said the dispensation of time of heightened relevancy. Let's make it simple. What are you talking about right now that's relevant to what I got going on in my life right now? That's relevant, right? Because in business, relevancy equals revenue. In business, relevancy equals revenue. So what are you talking about in your business? What are you talking about in your movement that's relevant to what I got going on in my life right now? Because every movement must have a moment, and that moment is a dispensation of time of heightened relevancy, meaning what you're talking about that's relevant to what I got going on. So if you ain't talking about what I got going on in my life right now, your business, your brand, and what you're talking about is not relevant to me. I'm not paying attention. I'm not giving you my money. I'm not going to pay you, and you're not going to be in business. Put up the going out of business sign. Every movement must have a moment. Those moments must be disruptive. Well, powerful people ask powerful questions. So I'm going to ask the powerful question. What is disruption? Disruption is challenging the norm. You got to challenge what your customer normally thinks. You got to challenge what your customer normally says. You got to challenge what your customer normally does. You got to challenge what your audience is normally thinking, saying, and doing. And that's cool because we get up on our soapbox like we Malcolm X, right, in New York on the soapbox. But we got to come back off that soapbox and say we got to challenge. We got to look at the man in the mirror. We got to challenge what I normally think, challenge what I normally say, challenge what I normally do. You want to know why? Because in order for you, remember, we got to challenge what the customer normally thinks, challenge what the customer normally says, challenge what the customer normally does. Everybody got that?
Yes, sir.
Here's the question. What you going to challenge them with? You ain't got nothing to challenge them with unless you challenge what you were normally thinking, challenging what you were normally saying, and challenging what you normally do, right? And then you got to challenge what the industry normally is thinking, what the industry is normally saying, and what the industry is normally doing. So you got to challenge the customer, and you got to challenge the industry. And in the middle is what you're going to challenge them with. That's why you got to do an article on what you think, what you believe, why you believe it, right? because every movement must have a moment. Those moments must be disruptive. And it's the disruptive moments within your movement that give it momentum. When you see a brand go stale, right, usually it's because they ain't got no movement. When you see a brand go stale, they got a movement, but that thing ain't disruptive. They've been trying to fit in, but they need to learn how to fit out, right? You need less fit in producers, you need more fit out producers, right? Because movement plus message plus methodology equals money. So the movement is the concept and the idea that we're rallying together around. We got that. The message is real simple. It's the thing that you say to inspire people to take inspired action. It's the thing that you're saying to inspire people. I'm going to go right on back to powerful people asking powerful questions. What people? The people that you will call to serve. Because your message ain't for everybody. Your message is for somebody. And if the thing about it is, when you ain't sure, when your beliefs ain't stable, when your principles are unstable, you send mixed messages. Right? You pull your punches. Right? Perfect example. 20 years ago, there's no way I would try to write the book on the hypocrisy of whiteness. There's no way I'd write that book. Right? But catch me now, 20 years later. Why would I write that book? Because my message ain't for everybody, it's for somebody. No mixed messages. I ain't got to pull my punches. And when you send mixed messages, what happens is you don't believe what you're saying, so they don't believe what you're saying. So you can't inspire people to take inspired action.
Come on.
The minister believes everything he said, period.
Yeah, right.
And
That's
you
right.
know it when he said it. Right?
That's right.
I've been in many places where I'm like, whoo. You know, and unapologetic, he listen, the standard is already set. So you ain't even got to try to figure out the standard. You got a real life standard. Right here, living. Yeah. So the message is the thing that you're saying to inspire people, and you got to get them not to just take action, because you be like, hey, show up. Nah, that's $5 effort. You ain't gonna waste my $1 million mind on $5 effort. Inspire people to take inspired action. So when you show up in this space, when you show up on this podcast, when you show up this stream out, when you show up in this video, everybody needs to be showing up with inspired action. Tony got on here. Tony said, share this out with your friends.
That's right.
Or did you take $5 action? You're like, oh, I'm gonna soak up some of his these $1 million minds, but I'm gonna show up with my $5 effort and wonder why that 1 and 1 didn't equal 2. Because it wasn't 1 plus 1, it was 1 minus 1. There was this one person showed up and this minus your effort. 1 minus 1 does not equal 2. 1 plus something is what it causes the increase. And so when you step into a place like this, did they increase as a result of you, or were you more of a subtraction? And if you are the subtraction, if you are the distraction, right? Because $1 million effort, you will not waste my $1 million mind on $5 effort. But that's okay. I know we were just playing, so cool. So everybody, you're gonna put me $1 million effort, right? Because that's the power of collaboration. When we cooperate, 1 plus 1 equals 2. But when we collaborate, 1 and 1 equals 11, hashtag 11. Now, the one part that George left off was 1 minus 1. 1 minus 1 is subtraction, which means that it equals you. You equal the distraction, because you're the one taken away when you were brought here to act. That's the message. M plus N plus M, movement plus message plus methodology. Methodology is the process or the system that you use to produce results. It's the process or the system that you use to produce results. First, for yourself. Don't nobody want to be your test dummy, right? Second, in your business, right? And then third, in the lives of the people that you are called to serve, right? Again, you ain't trying to serve everybody. You're trying to serve somebody, okay? And so for all sakes and purposes, that methodology is really the validation on your study, right? There's a quote, study to show thyself approved. It's really study to show thyself qualified, right? And for many of us, sometimes when we speak, sometimes when we share our opinions, we share unqualified opinions because we didn't do our studies.
That's right.
Right? And you're not really qualified for the breakthrough you want. That's why it's not there, right? And so literally, when you do all of these things, what you will have is you will manifest your greatest dreams and aspirations, because M plus M plus M equals M. Movement plus message plus methodology equals money. And so with any good formula, you got to be able to check it. So I know that a movement minus a message, and I got 5,000 Facebook followers, 20,000 people on TikTok, but I can't get nobody to show up to my webinar. A movement minus a message equals no action. So if you got a bunch of people that you know, but nobody seems to be doing anything, the problem is you. It's the message. Something you're saying is not inspiring people to take inspired action. Got it? But the message minus a movement, meaning you got 6 degrees, you done wrote 10 books, and you are a theologian, and you got a doctorate degree, right? Your message is tight, right? But a message minus a movement equals no people. So you got a whole lot of stuff, but you ain't talking to nobody. And if a tree falls in the woods and nobody hears it, does it make a sound? The answer is no, because nobody heard it. Doesn't even exist. So message minus the movement equals no people, right? And then if you got the movement down, you got the message down, the movement plus the message minus the methodology equals no results.
Right.
So sometimes your bank account doesn't reflect how good you actually are. The reason is you really don't have, your methodology is not tight. And some of y'all, you think your methodology is tight, but you just repeating something that you heard a white man tell you. And you got to change it, they tell you. You got that powerful people ask powerful questions, because questions still focusing in your life and in your business. You only get what you focus on. You cannot take everything at face value. That's why they can't give me a gold watch and say, Trevor, thank you for your service. Because I know the number one problem facing Black entrepreneurs is addiction to our labor, an addiction to our labor as the primary mechanism by which you generate revenue. So you're not about to sell me on my labor. You're going to do a lot of things in this life, but you ain't selling me on that. You're not going to tell me that, hey, get seen, get paid, get hurt. I get that that's narcissism, maybe built into that culture, but it don't really roll in this culture, right? Narcissism, because the opposite of narcissism is humility.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you got to be willing to ask these powerful questions, because you got to challenge these concepts. And so I'll say to everybody, learn how to do business the Black way, because we do have a way of doing business that goes back long before we got to this country. Right?
That's right.
And you got to study those things out, because you'll start finding that you do business in a different kind of way. Like you don't, and I'll leave it at this. It's a short example. In European culture, they do business in a linear way. That's why they say things like start with the end in mind.
Absolutely.
Right? But you really should start with the beginning in mind, because everything you do, you're going to eventually come back to the beginning. Because actually, in African culture, they'll teach you that business is circular. Right? So there's a cartoon called The Road Runner, right? I used to watch it all the time as a kid. And I used to always see this character named Wile E. Coyote chasing this bird called a road runner. And if you've never seen the cartoon, this is kind of how it goes. And Wile E. Coyote was really an entrepreneur. He had he showed his business card. He says, my name is Wile E. Coyote. And I work for right? He literally was an entrepreneur. And every episode, this dude would chase that daggone road runner, and then eventually he would run off the cliff, and it'd be like, this daggone crazy entrepreneur chasing this bird and keep running off the cliff. And I kept saying, why did this daggone bird keep running off the cliff? It's because, one, he was doing business in a linear way. He was always running in a straight line. And so what happened was the bird would just eventually just step out of the way, and you keep running in that same direction, right? Linear thinking. But to be successful in entrepreneurship, you can't use linear thinking. You got to, right? Because it's just like playing a game of Monopoly. When you go around the board, when you get to like Park Place and Boardwalk, you pass go, you collect $200, and you buy some more hotels, you add some more value, right? And you build you up, you come right, and you're gonna keep coming back around that board. And because you got to keep coming back around that board, you are going to be making deals and building relationships and showing respect for the people that you do business with along the way, because you know you're gonna keep passing them along the way, right? So you can't do linear thinking. You literally. You really have to embrace that there's a different way of doing business, and we don't have to do it the way that Europeans have always done business. It's not to say that the way they do business is something horrible, but it's not the way we do business. And you got to really step into that. So this is what Black CEO is about. This is about Black entrepreneurship, and I steal a little bit over here and steal a little bit over there, and add a little bit together, and we get a little gumbo, and we all sharing it. So this has been our pot of gumbo, right? And this has been our potluck dinner, and hopefully everybody got a little scoop, everybody got a little taste of something that was good for them. So I turn it back over to you guys.
If I may, Sister Kalila, just
yes,
what I'm gathering from you, beloved brother, I love everything that you're talking about. There, we all have to be forced out of our comfort zones, and in order to become successful, we got to force others to come out of their comfort zone. That's why we can't do things all by ourselves,
right?
And we got to think of the whole. And just the last thing that you mentioned. The moral component when it comes down to unity among us and doing business right, that is so key, because we can say, oh yeah, I'm an entrepreneur, but here I am trying to emulate the business model of white people, which they do things shisty stuff to each other all the time. Then next day they're cool with each other. I'm like, man, but this guy just robbed you. This guy just did this all these things right now against you. And they're like, oh, well, that's business. No, that's business for them. That's not business for us.
Yes, sir. And, when you mentioned that, it's very, you said be uncomfortable. I have on I try to create like a go-to for my business every year. And my go-to is always something that I'm back to what I was saying about fear, to challenge my fear. And my fear was always not taking risk. And I was always told, in order for you to be successful, you have to take risk. And stop being comfortable with being comfortable. You have to be sometimes uncomfortable with the risks that you're taking. So this year was always the thought was, Kalila, you got to take more risk. You cannot move where you need to move without taking the risk. So that was always my, like, I got to do it. Get out of here, get off of this stool of comfort and start taking risks. And that's what I've been doing. I've been becoming very successful, but not just monetary wise, but people identifying who I am. Kalila, I had I do pop-up shops, and I was out of town, and this sister was like, I need you. And it was like, and it made me feel so good, because now you're appreciating what I bring to your atmosphere and to your events. I need you. Here is a discount. I just need to see you here. You can sell this, you can sell that. I just need you here. And that just, I was like, okay, cool. So I'm like, my little mini vacation turned into a half of a mini vacation, right? Because I'm in Orlando and I had to, rush back to Jacksonville to get all the stuff. And, and thank God, that I also, with these risks, I prayed to God and I said, you know what, God, with these risks, I'm gonna need help. Back to that you can't do this thing by yourself. So right. I I have this partner. Well, I made him my my PR, but he is one of those type people. It's like, hey, I need you here, Joe. And he was like, okay, where you need me at? So not only I was out of town, but my business was still running successfully with the brand that was still in existence. So when I came in, she was like, girl, you are Superman. I already know where you came from, and you can just do whatever you need. Here's your spot, wherever you need to be. I'm at your discretion. You want me to help you? I say, no, I got it. But it's just, it feels good. It really feels good. And when you said that, it just made me know that I'm going into the right direction in my business. So I definitely appreciate that. You know,
Thank you.
and with that being said, in spite of the increasing in the amount of black owners businesses in recent years, according to lingo.com, 47% of black businesses who applies for a loan are denied.
Mhm.
What way can we overcome the unfair challenges like this?
I've long since argued that one, we have to collectively pool our own resources,
Mhm.
um, because even those who are willing to lend to us, they in most cases still don't have our best interests at heart,
Mm,
right?
mhm,
And debt to a black person
Mm.
is what a whip was to a slave,
mm,
right? And
mm,
it's
mm,
designed to really force you into to basically behavior that does not benefit you, right?
mm,
So to a certain degree, I'm not saying I'm totally anti-loan, but I'm very conscious about where that loan is coming from and what is the intention of the person who gave it to me, right?
mm,
So yeah, and bootstrapping ain't the worst way to get a business to the top. Bootstrapping, as a matter of fact, there's a book called Lean Startup. It's a good book, right? And it's literally about these people who really bootstrap these $100 million and $1 billion businesses, and really just taking the little that I got. And let me tell you about bootstrapping is really good. It teaches you the principle of reinvesting in yourself, right?
mm,
And sometimes you can bypass the lesson, right? And so sometimes when you get that loan, it just bypasses the lesson that, hey, I
mhm,
took my little and I made something from it, right? And then I reinvested it, right? So that I know, um, so that I do not consume my seed based upon my own lust. I mean, because a lot of times what people do in business is it's just like eating an apple. When you eat the apple, you're supposed to spit out the seeds. Why? Because those
mhm,
seeds represent the tree that's going to birth that next apple. But what if you saw somebody eat the apple and eat the seeds? You look at that person like that.
mm,
People do that stuff in business all the time, right? And so the rule is that where there's no investment, there's no appreciation. And by
mm,
appreciation, I mean financial appreciation, and I mean gratitude-based appreciation, right? Right. And so that appreciation, right, is really represents that seed for more growth, right? So where there's no
mhm,
investment, there's no appreciation, right? And where there's no appreciation, gratitude-based appreciation, there's no stewardship. Meaning
mm,
you ain't getting any more than you already got because you ain't doing anything with what God gave you to begin with. Stewardship, right?
mm,
Because without stewardship, you whatever you have, you got to keep replacing because you have again no appreciation, right? And where there's no stewardship, there's no access to more. You'll never have more because you'll always deplete what you have, so there'll never be more. So you'll never be in a state of abundance. You'll always be in a state of deficit,
mm,
right? And so, um, you know, re reinvesting is a principle that all businesses have to learn. And to that end, also, if you ever want to find out if somebody is serious, if you ever want to find out if somebody is serious, take the word free out of the conversation.
mm.
Mm.
Right? You ever want to find somebody if somebody's serious, just take the word free out of the conversation, and you're gonna know exactly whether or not they're serious, right? Because everybody has got to have some skin in the game. There's no such thing as a return on an investment you've never made.
That's
There's
right.
I
no such
agree.
thing as a return on an investment you never made. So part of that is just like I don't know if you know how to ride a bike, but I don't know anybody that ever learned how to ride a bike that didn't fall first. Part of
That's
learning how to ride a bike is falling, right?
Right.
Part of learning how to be in business is learning how to reinvest, learning how to fail, learning how to fall. Remember, I was on that mattress, right? Remember, I got addicted. That's part of being in business, right? It's part of that lesson. And one other thing that I will share with you also is um, the principle of ROF. And this is probably the number one principle of entrepreneurship. It stands for return on finish, not ROI. In European spaces, they teach you ROI. It's ROF, return on finish. And it goes a little like this. it's impossible for anything that you finish to return unto you void. But everything that you leave unfinished as it pertains to your purpose will return unto you as a deficit. Because the end result of finishing something is abundance, right? And by definition, abundance is more than enough, right? More than enough for you? Yeah, it's abundance. More than enough for my family? Yeah, it's enough. More than enough for my community? Yeah, it's enough. More than enough for the people that I'm going to serve? Yes, because the end result of finishing something is abundance. So in order for us to create economic independence, which is always the mission, right? We as a people have got to finish them, right? This is why building together is non-negotiable now, right? Because we got to finish some things. Anything that's showing up as a deficit in our community is not a reflection of what they did to us. It's a reflection of something we ain't finished, right? Because it's impossible for anything that you finish to return unto you void. But everything that you leave unfinished as it pertains to your purpose will return unto you as a deficit. And by definition, a deficit means not enough, right? So whenever we see these deficits, the question is not who we're gonna get to give us the money. When we see a deficit, we got to ask ourselves, the real question is, what do I need to finish? Right? It's what do I need to finish? And so they teach you in business school ROI. Do you know what ROI is like? ROI is like a legal gambling. I put $25 in, I hope I get $100 out. This is gambling. This is another word on gambling, right? And business ain't about gambling. Business is about purpose, right? So when you get to ROF, now you're building businesses based upon purpose. You get it? So it's always that ROF. I get people coming down. So Trevor, if I put $100 down, when am I make my money back? I don't know, and I'm not in charge of that, right? You know, he will give when he is ready to give. So ROF, right? It's like I call it the miracle of the popcorn kernel, right? You put all of these damn popcorn, the more kids just throw in the microwave. Back in the days, we had a pan and we had some popcorn kernels and we had some oil. We put it in the pan, right? And all of these kernels are in the same pan. They're all in the same oil. They're all under the same heat, but yet they pop at different times, right? Why is that? Because some results happen overnight, some results happen over time, but regardless, I'll be just fine. Right. And you got to know that. And so when you finish according to purpose, you got to learn how to just trust and you ain't got to worry about it. Like, look, I already finished. Abundance is my inheritance. Right. There will be more than enough. Even when most people think about wealth, they think of it really in terms of money. Right. But wealth really, our true definition is abundance. Europeans changed to all wealth is money, and it's not. It's your health is a type of wealth, right? Your family, your relationship is a type of wealth, but they redefine it as their wealth. They got a lot of money, right? But that's really, so again, allowing some redefining of what you are pursuing, right? So you want to, go out there and finish some things. What are we here to do? Y'all, we come to this podcast, we come to this Zoom, we come to these events. We come because we are working together on finishing something. And so even when I work with entrepreneurs, and even when I'm working in other groups, I always ask the question, what are we here to finish? What are you here to finish? How can I help you finish, my brother? How can I help you finish, my sister? If I want to hire a coach, I ask them directly, how can you help me finish this mission that I have? Right? Who have you helped finish in the past? I don't ask how much money did you help these people make. I never ask that question. Who have you helped finish? Because I'm here to finish. And so I would encourage each of you to become finishers, right? And the challenge is like, hey, here's what we're going to finish today. Here's what we're going to finish this week. Here's what we're going to finish this month. Here's what we're going to finish this year. Here's what we're going to finish this decade, right? It's like Noah and that ark. I gotta give Noah props. I don't know if I had the fortitude to hang in there for 100 years to finish this ark. That's a finisher for you, right? And so there's a finisher in you. There's a finisher in you. There's a finisher in you, and you got to unlock that person. You got to unleash that person. You got to bring that person to the forefront because that finisher in you is connected to your purpose, and it's connected to God's purpose in your life.
Brother Trevor, this has been well time well spent. We in that last point that you were making, we have to stop this going from one thing to another to another to another
Yeah.
thing, and we're thinking in our minds, I'm gonna get rich quick with all these things, and nothing works out because we're not really putting our heart into it and taking it to the end. And so, my beloved brother, we must do a part two.
We must
Got
do a part
to.
two.
It's a must. 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 Mandatory.
Yep, absolutely. Remember, study to show yourself qualified. That's for everybody that's listening. And remember, they say that the richest man that ever lived, one of the richest men that ever lived, was King Solomon. And here's the powerful people ask powerful question moment. What came first, the wealth or the wisdom? This is why you study to show yourself qualified for that wealth and that abundance that you want to create in your life. Finish something, right? All your studies are related to the things that you got to finish. That's it. All right, I'm looking forward to part two.
Yes, me too.
Absolutely. But Trevor, so we could direct if people want to make a donation to you, we can send them to blackceo.com.
Yep, you can send it to Trevor at blackceo.com. But I would invite everybody that's listening today. I like to give as good as I give. So on Fridays at 10 a.m., we do something called, we do something called the Black CEO Mastermind. You can go to blackceozoom.com. You go to blackceozoom.com, and at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll let you in, right? And so that's blackceozoom.com. And like I said before, I actually read all my emails. So if you send me an email, you got a question, send it. Right? I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. You got a question, send it. I answer them. Right? As you can see, I never met a mic that I disliked. So absolutely. So Trevor at blackceo.com. But find me on the social media places, and I'll be sure to connect with you. Absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely. All right.
Thank you. This
Seventh region.
Yep, the 7th Region Coalition. So what is it time for the people to do? Yes, it is disruptive.
If beloved family, if you were touched by anything that was mentioned here tonight, if we're doing this out of the kindness of our heart, we're doing it for the love, but love by itself don't pay bills.
That's right.
we still have to cover.
You abandoned me. Love don't live here anymore.
Oh my dear Lord. Dear family, we appreciate any kind of contribution you could make here tonight that helps us further this program and cover costs. Here you can make a Cash App donation, $ 7th Region Coalition 29. And yes, donate now. Thank you so much. May Allah God continue to bless you all and your families. And thank you, brother Trevor, once again for joining us tonight. This was indeed powerful and the right way to do business.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
With that, Sister Kalila, take us out.
Listen, at the end of the day, we are not a gang, clique, or we are none of the above.
No, we ain't throwing up gangsters.
We ain't none of that. We are the 7th Region Coalition, where we are always helping save lives. Tune in to your 7th Region Coalition on Thursday Night Talks next Thursday at a StreamYard near you.
You don't want to miss it.